Hello and welcome back to another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks, breaking down the latest in reality TV and pop culture. Thank you again for being here, for tuning in, whether you're listening on the podcast, whatever way you listen to podcasts, whether it's Apple or Spotify or whatever, or you're watching on the YouTube. We love it that you're here. I'm sweating bullets in this room right now because it's actually sunny in Cleveland, but I had to close all the blinds and these lights. So I'm just sweating a little bit. Top of the show ramp before we get into a lot of good stuff. Jesse Solomon from Summer House is here. Can't wait to talk to him. Harley Daniels, my little dog, is sitting, he's laying over there. He seems very upset for whatever reason. We're babysitting him today. So if you hear any barking or licking or scratching, it's not me. Although I've had a day, I might start doing those things because I'm losing my marbles a little bit. But just want to let you know that Harley is in the room. You might be able to feel his energy. Right now, he's very calm, cool, collected. He's sleeping, but it could get chaotic at any given moment. Why am I spiraling so bad today? Because my wedding is almost 2 months away and I feel like I have nothing done. That, coupled with the fact that I literally don't know what to do, I feel like I'm losing it a little bit. I had my bridal shower this weekend. It was fantastic. I mean, it was amazing. It was a lot, setting it up and taking it down and whatever. But my mom, God bless her, my mom, I feel like, I don't want to say she missed her calling in life, but she kind of did because that girl knows how to throw a party and she was not a party planner. So it was fantastic. And we had this big balloon arch, although I never want to see another balloon again because I did have to tie a lot of the balloons, got some blisters. But, I also had my makeup trial on Saturday. And I went in and I loved it. Honestly, I did. And then I went back and I felt beautiful and all these things. And then the days started to go on and on. And I'm like, I don't know if that's how I want to wear my makeup on my wedding day. And I'm thinking to myself, why, Morgan? You liked it at the moment. And I'm like, yeah, but it's going to be summery. I kind of want something a little lighter, a little brighter, not a traditional smoky eye with like a mauve lip or whatever. So I start going down this spiral of, okay, well, what do I want? Okay, well, now I want something different and I don't have another trial. So how is that going to play out? Then I started going down this spiral of, oh, what if I don't even like my dress anymore? Like, you know what it is? There's so much pressure on women on your wedding day for you to look the most beautiful you've ever looked in your entire life. Like, you have to look more in fit than you ever have. Your hair has to be shiny and glossy and perfectly curled with no flyaways. Your complexion has to be flawless. You have to look bronzed and glowy, but you have to look snatched, but you have to wear enough makeup to show up in pictures, but you also want to look natural. I'm losing it. Then my mom tells me, Morgan, you have to pick a song to walk down the aisle to. I'm having a piano player and a violin player at the same time. So I'm looking up YouTubes on, romantic songs. And I'm sitting here mid-spiral about everything else, pulling up Can You Feel the Love Tonight from The Lion King on a violin, sobbing in my living room, just absolutely sobbing. I don't know if it was because it moved me so much or if it's because I'm losing my mind. Maybe a little bit of both. So please keep me in your T's and P's that we get through this final 2-month push into the wedding and pray that we'll be good. Because right now your girl's not good. Your girl is not good. But we're trying. We're living. We're laughing. We're loving. We're pretending to be thriving. And let's get into it. Let's get into the top three biggest headlines in reality TV and pop culture this week. We got to start strong with the golden divorce. Gary and Teresa and April, who entered the chat. What a way to start last Friday. And don't think I didn't notice that this was on a Friday. We call it the Friday news dump. Anytime there's this groundbreaking information that celebrities, I'm using air quotes because, it's Gary and Teresa, want to be anytime they want something to be buried in the weekend, they'll tell it on a Friday. I'm surprised they did it at Good Morning America. It's like, Good Morning America, Gary and Teresa are getting a divorce. You know, like, just what a way to start the day. We all kind of saw it coming with the teaser that came out the night before, because no offense, but like they're 70 and 72. So when you get the teaser that they have this big bombshell announcement, you know it's not going to be a pregnancy. So honestly, I was like, oh no, someone's either ill or they're getting divorced. And we don't want either of those things. But came out that they're getting divorced. They said it was because of the living situation. But also, after doing some digging and reading and listening to old interview clips, it also has to do with the fact that Teresa decided to still work. Gary is retired, Teresa is not. I just think the whole thing is a little bit ironic because, thinking back to the Golden Bachelor, when Gary learned what Teresa did, that's when like the light bulb went off in his head, right? That's when we all saw the switch, because we all thought, we were all convinced, like, Gary is picking Leslie. There's no way around it, until Teresa says, this is what I do for a living. And everyone thought that was kind of weird, right? That Gary just flipped the switch. But I find it ironic that that was the turning point in their relationship. And that is what ended up being a contributing factor in their split. And I said this earlier this week. Do you remember after the final rose, they were sitting on the couch, and what did they say? What did Gary say was one of the reasons they had all these conversations in fantasy suites? And he said, we're just so aligned. We do have a shared experience. And he said something along the lines of, we both know how to make a relationship last a long time, a lifetime. And I truly don't think that was meant to be a dig at Leslie, although some people did take it that way. I don't think they meant it that way. But I just find the whole thing a little ironic, right? The two little things coupled together, it's like rain on your wedding day, as Alanis Morissette would say. It's a free ride when you're already late. It's the good advice that you just didn't take. Speaking of advice, April has entered the chat, leaving all kinds of weird comments on this, saying, I truly tried to tell you, Teresa, wake up, sister. I tried to tell you not to marry the guy. She literally commented that on a public forum. She also said something to Leslie. She replied to Leslie and said something silly as well. She later deleted and apologized, but I mean, the damage has already been done at this point. Have no fear. The Family Feud episode is still going to air. Thank God. What would we do without the Golden Bachelor Family Feud episode? I was really looking forward to that. Everybody's going to be watching it the same way we watched Scandival, like looking for the clues that they're getting ready to split up. But, 3 months after they got married, it just feels very abrupt. I do wish the best for them. But wow, what a ride. What a wild ride that we have gone on with Gary specifically within the past year. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? Before this announcement came out, I did book Leslie Fema on the pod. The girl's going to be here next week. Keep your fingers crossed that she doesn't cancel after all of this news came out, because we got to talk about it. And I really want her to talk about it on my podcast. So keep us in your T's and P's. Let's move on to headline number 2. Bravo's Manic Monday on tax day was the definition of insanity. I'm just going to go down the list of all the things that happened in Bravo on Monday. Robin fired from Potomac. Candace pregnant with her first baby. Teresa Giudice hanging out with Taylor Swift at Coachella. Taylor Swift jamming out to DJ James Kennedy at Coachella. Jen P. from The Real Housewives of Orange County engaged to Ryan. Crystal out at The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. In my opinion, the most shocking announcement that was made on Monday, Katie Maloney and Sheena Shea teaming up for a Chili's collaboration. All of that happened on Monday. On tax day? Rude. Honestly, I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Didn't even check my phone until 2 o'clock because historically, Mondays are slow news days. I opened my phone and I literally thought that the world was ending. I thought we We missed the world ending by a week. We thought it was going to end on Eclipse Day. It's ending on Tax Day with everything that's going on. I want to talk about the firings because to me, that's the most interesting thing here. So Robin Dixon has been on Potomac since season 1. And historically, I liked Robin. I think in this particular moment, I'm just going to be blunt, she had it coming. I'm sorry. I'm surprised they didn't fire her after the paywall incident. Remember, there's always these stories about Juan going around, and Robin never wants to address them. I personally think it's because of pressure from Juan, based on what we see on the show. But there was this story that Juan met up with this woman at this hotel, whatever. Robin did not say anything about it on the entire season of The Real Housewives of Potomac. And then she made you pay for her top Patreon tier to find out this information. And it just seems like a conflict of interest. When you're on a reality show and you're supposed to be showing your life and there's always this drama with your husband and you don't share it, but you share it to the people who pay you $10, So I just thought that was kind of weird. I wonder if this is going to cause more problems with Juan because, she said very bluntly, I was fired. I was not asked back. This was a network decision. I'm not going to sugarcoat things and say that it was mutual because it wasn't. So at this point, Juan has put her through so much. And I feel like Juan's, control over her, or at least her, I'm trying to figure out how I want to say this. The way that he wants to control the narrative, right? So it's not necessarily him wanting to control Robin, even though some could perceive it that way. But I think he wants to control the narrative that Robin puts out there. I'm just wondering if later in life she's going to look back and resent him. No, I don't know. Is it Juan's fault? I think it's a combination of the two, I have no idea. It's truly crazy, but I think Juan Dixon is sighing a huge sigh of relief that he doesn't have to deal with it anymore. The second firing was Crystal from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Crystal Minkoff. I historically was indifferent to Crystal. I feel like she was just starting to get her footing in the Housewives universe, but I feel like a lot of times I feel like Crystal had to really try at being a housewife. It didn't feel natural for her. It just didn't feel like her personality type was to be in a ring with Erika Jayne, Although when she did go head to head with Erika Jayne, we were living for it. But I also just feel like production steered her a bit in the wrong direction as well, focusing so much on her brother last season. Because we don't care about her brother. Why would we care about her brother? So it's just interesting. Anna Marie Wiley also is not coming back. And when she posted something on her Instagram, there was this big laundry list of things that she said she shared with the cameras, and we didn't see any of it. So I can imagine Crystal, had a similar experience where you share a bunch of stuff, you threw a bunch of stuff at the wall, and they pick and choose what they want to put in the show. So I don't know. Crystal said that, yes, she was exiting the show, but she was also excited for some time away from cameras. Her husband, Rob Minkoff, wrote something like, oh, I was really going to bring it next season, which got a big laugh from everybody. But yeah, the end of an era for some of the housewives. Let's move on to our third and final headline. This one's kind of going under the radar, although it's starting to ramp up a little bit. And that is rumors that Bachelor Nation's Greg Grippo and Victoria Fuller have split. So there's been rumors, rumblings for a long time. They no longer follow each other on social media. And what other clue do you need? Have you ever unfollowed your boyfriend? Have you ever unfollowed your girlfriend for an extended period of time? If you're still together, no. Sorry. I'm good. I don't need you to tell me any other piece of information. If you're unfollowing somebody, you are not with them anymore. What, you think they're having movie nights? Wednesday nights in, watching Survivor and be like, oh, unfollow. I just don't think that it's happening. in today's day and age, especially Victoria and Greg, who are influencers. December of 2023 is the last time that they posted something together. Although Victoria, the last time she mentioned Greg was in a TikTok in January, although it wasn't like, hey, here's me and Greg. It was like icks that I get from boys. And she put a little asterisk and said, this is not about my boyfriend, right? So she wasn't actually with him. She was just referencing him. But do I think they're broken up? Yeah, probably. I probably do. It does make me sad. Greg, we had Greg on the pod, if you want to go back and listen to that episode. And you talked a lot about Victoria, about how, he wanted to get married. He wanted to settle down. He said they were both at that place in their lives where they want to settle down. They want to start having kids. They were looking at houses or whatever. So that does make me sad. I mean, looking back, they did kind of get off to a rocky start, I guess, depending on who you ask. We remember Victoria got engaged on Bachelor in Paradise. That didn't end very well. And then she started dating Greg. So Greg Grippo single. You guys, Greg Grippo is one of my favorite Bachelor Nation girlies. I love him. And I love his coiffed hair. I love his little skits that he does with Andrew Spencer on TikTok. They're so funny. They need to have a spinoff show. I know Nick Viall all the time talks, maybe not all the time, but sometimes talks about how like Bachelor Nation people have never had a spinoff reality show. Get Greg and Andrew on the phone, please. Do a joint Bachelor season with Greg and Andrew. We would love it. I don't know if Andrew is still dating his girlfriend, but maybe this frees Greg up for a potential Bachelor run. I don't know that he would. I mean, if they offered him enough money, I mean, who's to say? All right, you guys, let's get into the deep dive. I'm super excited to have a very special guest on today's episode of MPT. He is the new guy in the summer house. Please welcome Jesse Solomon. Jesse Solomon, thank you for coming on MPT.
Oh, thanks for having me. Happy to be here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy. I'm busy. Everything's good.
Where were you? You weren't in New York recently.
Over the weekend, I was in the Bahamas.
Tough life.
It was my best friend's birthday, and we went to the SLS because it's like a stone's throw away from Miami, and it was fun. I'd never
it
been
looked
before.
fun.
Yeah, like it was good. Like they just have everything there, like casino, nightclub, like a bunch of different restaurants, like all on campus too. So it really just it's good. You should go.
Happy to be back in New York or a little depressed about it?
I am in Miami.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I live in Miami a little over half the year.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, when I got cast for Summer House, I was actually living in New York full time. Mm-hmm. But I was always planning on moving back to Miami in like late October. So that's what happened. And then I'll be back in New York full time starting May 1st.
Do you like New York or Miami better?
I like the lifestyle in Miami better. I've lived in New York like 6.5 years. So I've kind of like gotten my New York experience.
Yeah.
And New York just wears on you. Like,
I'm sure.
It's amazing. Like, I love to eat and drink. And sure, there's other stuff to do, but like you're mainly eating and drinking.
Right.
In Miami, I'm like playing golf and going to the beach. And like, if the weather's bad in Miami, you're like, what are we going to do today? Like,
right.
But in New York, it's like, oh, I guess we'll just go to brunch and eat and drink more. So it's got its pros and cons for sure. But I would say if I had to choose one, it would be Miami.
Do you think you'll retire there eventually, or are you going to stay in New York?
I think I will live wherever the woman I fall in love with wants to live.
Good answer.
Like, I'm open to pretty much anywhere. Like, I've always wanted to live in California. It's just far from my family. But my brother's on the East Coast, so New York, Florida, like everybody loves to come visit you. I'm totally open.
So, Jesse, how are you adjusting to the Bravo life?
I think I'm adjusted. Like you can go into this whole experience thinking like, I don't care what the haters say, like I'll be fine. And then like you actually see people saying terrible shit about you and you're like, oh, that actually does kind of hurt.
Yeah.
Then like it happens and then you're like, okay, that's it. I'm
Yeah.
good with it. Like, let's ride. So yeah, it's been so fun. So many cool things have come out of it. I mean, at the SLS, I got recognized like probably 50 times, which was wild because in Miami, I never get recognized. So it was cool to just like see fans and bachelorette parties that like thought I was famous. And I was like, yeah, let's have some fun.
I was going to say, you being single probably are taking advantage of the bachelorette parties that are now flagging you down.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't say taking advantage.
Right. No.
The right term, but like it was definitely fun to make new friends.
Right. Were you scared going into it? I have to imagine there's a certain amount of pressure that you feel when you get asked, will you be on national television in a summer share house with a lot of partying and a lot of single females?
The question is, was I scared?
Yeah.
I definitely wasn't like thinking that this was normal.
Yeah.
You're nervous going into it, just like any new experience. You kind of have no idea what to expect. I think that was the main thing. I was like, is this real? Like, is this a fake show? Like, I hadn't watched Bravo at all. And it kind of, this opportunity came to me like mid-June. And then I was filming by July 2nd.
Oh, wow. That's fast.
It was kind of just like a whirlwind experience. And I was just like, showed up with my bottle of tequila being like, can't wait to make new friends, have some fun. And I showed up and everybody's like, who the is this guy? So it ended up working out great. And I love everyone and they love me. But it wasn't always that way.
Well, you and West came in together, and I saw West say that at the beginning, you guys weren't as close as you are now. When did that closeness begin, and what can you attribute it to?
Yeah, I think West just showed up on Friday and got like 48 hours of just time with the cast.
Mm-hmm.
And then I showed up and like it kind of shook things up. I was officiating my best friend's wedding and like I just couldn't come any sooner. And then there's actually this scene that I thought was like going to be my downfall, but it got cut where like I took some people to a party that was going on in the Hamptons and I ended up like hanging out with my friends that I've known my entire life the whole night. And they didn't like that. They were like, who's this guy who like shows up to the share house and like brings us to this party and ditches us? And like, it was a thing for like the first 2 weeks.
Well, why did you do that?
I thought I was like being nice by bringing them to the party. And then I was drunk. Like we had it was right after that 4th of July party. And they were kind of just like new friends that I don't know. If I would go back and do it again, I probably wouldn't have even gone to the party. But if I did go to the party, I would have like made sure that. I mean, these are like Kyle's 41 years old. Like he can hang at a party without me.
Yeah. And you also just revert to like what you're comfortable with. So if you see all these people that you already know and have relationships with, you're just going to automatically gravitate towards them.
Yeah, these are like my lifelong best friends. And I thought that it was like the cameras weren't there, right? This was like, the cameras are off. Like I had talked to someone who was on the show before I said yes. That guy, Alex, he's like, we have mutual
yeah.
friends. And he was like, yeah, man, like, the cameras are up and then the cameras go down at 10 o'clock. And, there's obviously the surveillance cameras, but like the crew has, labor department requirements, whatever. And everybody kind of just like goes out and does their thing. And so I was like, oh, there's no cameras here. Like, this isn't part of the show, but like it was part of the show. And then obviously it got cut. But yeah, I didn't know what to expect.
So who was giving you a hard time about that for 2 weeks? Everybody?
Morgan.
You can say no comment. It's fine.
No, I don't think she'll care. But Danielle was pretty spicy with me, and Gabby too was a little less spicy, but also upset.
How are you with them now?
Close friends. Good. Yeah, that's why it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Let's get into some of the drama that we have seen so far on this season. Obviously, a big one is you being a little flirtatious with Paige, a taken woman. What was your intention behind flirting with Paige? Is it just your personality, or did you really have a feeling towards her?
Yeah, so I didn't think that I was flirting with Paige. I thought I was just friendly with her like I was with any of the other girls in the house. And then I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, like whatever I said about like, you could take a shot out of my head, like the worst line ever. But like, that's just, if you know me, like I just say shit. Like, I shouldn't have said that probably, but like, I was drunk at the first party. Like I'd just gotten there and I I knew Paige had a boyfriend. I'd heard, but on the show, nobody had told me like, yo, by the way, Paige has a boyfriend. Like I was just like acting like I was, like on a TV show. I don't know. It was stupid. And then the rest of the summer, everybody's like, yeah, you're really flirting with Paige. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, we're just friends. Like, what is flirting? We get along or whatever. And then I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, now I get it.
So you just had a little self-awareness learning moment of being on TV and how maybe things could be perceived differently. How did you feel when, I don't know, are you watching the season back like in real time with the rest of us?
Yeah, we get the episodes like a few days before you do.
So how do you feel when you see Paige on the beach talking about how she didn't like that you put your hand on her knee?
That was whack. But this is like that fateful knee touch heard around the world that like I swear did not happen. Like maybe it happened too, and I'm just forgetful. Like I, said like take some dent shots. But when she explained it, she was like, yeah, you like leaned over to Wes.
Yeah, it sounded like sensual.
No, I was just like going to talk to Wes. Like, I don't know if I did it, like, yeah, it wasn't a leg touch. It wasn't an upper thigh touch. It was a
kneecap graze.
Yeah, kneecap graze. Like, let's calm down, everyone. I didn't like stare into her soul and like grab her by the leg.
Okay, well now we know how you feel about that.
Yeah, it's whatever.
How do you feel about Kyle calling you out in front of Craig? How do you really truly feel about that moment?
I was just eating my dinner and I was upset that I had to pause and my food got cold. And you'll see there's like a scene where like everybody's gone from the table because I was busy getting berated all of dinner. And I was like, oh, finally I can eat my chicken fried steak. No, how did I actually feel? I just thought it was Kyle being preposterous. Kyle, yeah. Like he just thought it was funny and nobody else did. And I mean, listen, Craig handled it like a complete gentleman. So that was kind of like the silver lining. And I was happy it was kind of buried after that. Cause like everybody was like, the dinner before, Sierra's like, listen, I love you and all, but Craig's coming and he'll beat your ass. And I was like, what the? Nobody needs to beat anybody's ass.
Right. We're all friends here.
Yeah.
So it's harmless. I mean, we all saw, I don't know how many Bravo pages you keep up with, but people were also questioning this comment that you left on Amanda's Instagram. I don't know if you've seen this discourse too about, what was it? What'd you say? Something about a MILF?
The comment has gotten like 1,000 likes. Everybody loves it. It's just like, I feel bad for your future child because he's going to get bullied for like having the hottest MILF mom ever.
Right.
And I was like trying to figure out a way to word it where I wasn't like revealing a pregnancy announcement or anything. I was like, I don't want people to think that Amanda's pregnant right now. I just want to be like MILF in training or like future MILF. But I made it like a full sentence and people really ate it up.
Did anyone give you a hard time for that?
No. Like, I have eyeballs. Like Amanda's smoking hot.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
Like, it doesn't mean I'm going to try to hit on her. If you actually listen to the words that I say that I do not hit on girls with boyfriends because it's an unnecessary obstacle. And somehow that got misconstrued to like, I only hit on married women and take them. It said like a lot of the time, the best girls have a boyfriend because like girls often want boyfriends. So like if they're a great girl, obviously they can have a boyfriend if they want one. Like I didn't think that was so wild.
Do you feel like you're being mislabeled or misjudged because just of your personality? Do you think people take it the wrong way?
I think like I'm a bit polarizing, but once people get to know me, they know that I'm harmless and I'm
your intentions.
I'm good natured and I felt like I was kind of being typecast into this like boy role and I mean like I date girls, like sue me.
We're not gonna sue you.
Yeah, like get over it. Like somebody just commented on my Instagram, like it was like a post for the American Cancer Society, and this person was like, "Why don't you stop treating girls like shit and focus on your health?"
Oh my god, that's so horrible.
I was like, ooh, burn. Fuck, I'm hurt.
Well, you are one of the ones that are really living the single life to the fullest in the house. In this last episode, we saw that you did bring somebody back to the house. What I want to know is who on the cast told you to put the towel over the surveillance camera? Somebody had to give you a debrief. Like, bro, if you're going to bring somebody back, this is what you have to do.
No. So while I didn't watch Bravo before, I definitely like skimmed through season 7 and like a couple other seasons just to like see what I was getting myself into. So I had seen the towel over the camera move somewhere. I can't remember if somebody in the cast also mentioned it, but
they all like, do it. They've all done it at least once.
Yeah, it's like a known thing. And that camera operator was like swirling the camera around trying to like get the towel to fall off. And I was like, yo, chill out. You're gonna break the camera.
Was it distracting in the moment?
Dude, the whole thing was so weird because I'm like, I know there's like a microphone like that can hear every word I say, so there's no like normal discourse of like, the one thing they catch me saying is like, "You're good at that." Like, what the? it's like, yeah, that's like, yeah. I would try. I was trying not to say anything. Like usually you'd be like, "I'm about to," or like, I just didn't want.
Well, you needed some words of affirmation. Like women need words of affirmation.
I just didn't want like me being like, "I'm about to." to be just like memorialized on the internet forever. So I was just like,
you're good at that. Oh, that's great.
yeah.
There is obviously a lot of drama between Lindsay and Carl this season, and you have not shied away from giving your opinion, giving even Carl some advice. I want to say, like, what made you feel comfortable enough to do that? Because I can imagine being the new guy on the block, and Lindsay having her personality and Carl having his personality. I would be scared to death, but you weren't at all.
I think I got a lot more from Carl than they show. Like, Carl and I were talking a lot, and it didn't feel like I had like just showed up and started being like, you guys need to break up. Like, it felt slower, and I said I'd take it with a grain of salt. Like, if I'm out of place here, don't listen to me. But like, it was so apparent. It was so obvious. It was like, I wasn't giving some sort of like hot take. It was like, these two people are not a fit. And like, I was like, if you were one of my best friends, this is what I would say. But like, if you don't want to listen to what I have to say, then I'll off. So I didn't feel like it was so crazy for me to like say anything that I said.
Yeah. And I feel like Carl, for the most part, is like pretty receptive to things. Like, I just feel like he's not the type of person that if you said something coming from a genuine place that he would be upset about that, even if he didn't necessarily agree with it.
Yeah, totally. And, we were hanging out like in the city off camera and whatever. And, it was like clearly on his mind. So, it just felt natural.
Now, I think a lot of people went into the season expecting to see a lot of drama between Lindsay and Carl, but me personally, I wasn't expecting to see this much drama with Kyle and Amanda. In your opinion, was that drama as noticeable actually living with them in the house as Carl and Lindsay's drama was?
Right.
It was, but it's just so apparent to me in real life that they are each other's person, and like, they're so close. They know each other so well. And Amanda's just like being funny and like making fun of Kyle like you would with any of like your close friends. And people just like take that in a vacuum and they're like, oh, they're clearly not a match.
People think they hate each other. That's the way that it comes across. I don't think they hate each other. I think they butt heads. But what are like some subtle differences you think that we're just not seeing as a viewer at home? Something that you've noticed?
I mean, like, I posted a video where like we're all just drunk after the racing party, and like you can see them in the video, like they're literally like embracing each other, like singing and dancing. Like, there's a lot of that maybe doesn't get shown. I don't know. They definitely bicker.
Yeah.
And like it was clear in person, but it never felt to me like anything serious. Like, Carl and Lindsay, it was like, you guys like probably are not a good match. But Kyle and Amanda, like, you feel like they are each other's person. Like, there's no, like, because they're so close, they can argue like that.
Yeah. I want to switch gears a little bit because you have been very open about a bit of a surprising revelation to us at one of the dinners, that you were diagnosed with cancer twice. So how old were you the first time you got diagnosed, and what was that experience like?
I was 24. And it was quite surprising.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It was like the Thursday before Labor Day weekend, and I went and got the checkup, and they called me back immediately. And that's why I always like, the joke is that like I thought I had an STD or something, and like that was so bad compared to like what actually happened. And I show up and it's like the only doctor left on staff a Thursday before Labor Day weekend. And I'd never met the guy before. And he's like, listen, so it looks like you have cancer and you're going to have to get your testicle removed and you're probably going to need chemo. And I was like, nah, like, you got me.
No.
I was like, you've been punked. Where's Ashton?
That is just such a shocking, sobering reality to hear, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was not fun. But like, that's life. And you got to roll with it. And I rolled with it. All right. I went to Dewey Beach with my friends. We partied all weekend. And then I came back and I got my nut removed. And it was a successful operation.
So then how much later was the second time? And how was that experience different?
It was a year later. And I would go every 6 weeks to get checked. And after maybe 6 months, it moved to like, every 3 months you'd get checked. And on one of my checkups, usually it's just like a nurse comes in and she's like, blood work looks good. Like chest x-rays look great. Go on your merry way. And this time the doctor who did my surgery stepped into the room and I was like, oh.
You just knew something was
not
right.
And he was like, listen, I got to refer you to your oncologist. There's always a chance that the cancer spreads. Like the most sure way to ensure that the cancer wouldn't come back would have been to do chemo the first time. But it was like, let's just monitor it closely. But it came back. There was like a 13% chance that it was supposed to come back, and it did. And so then I did 4 rounds of chemo and dominated that shit.
Good.
And I've been pretty good ever since.
What was your headspace like going into it? Like, were you one of those people that were like, I'm going to face this head on, I'm going to get through it? Or did it take you a little bit of time to get to that place emotionally?
The first time it was just like really shocking and you just don't know anything and it was scary. And the second time you kind of know what's what and you just are like, this is going to suck.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get through it. And I've got a support system and the best family and friends I could ask for. And, you're at the best cancer hospital in the world. Like I felt really blessed and grateful and lucky because there's a lot of people who go through something like that and they don't have all those things. So even though it was like the worst thing I'd ever been through, it was kind of like a revelation of like, I'm so lucky.
Yeah. And I'm sure it just puts everything in a whole new perspective. I'm sure you view life in a completely different lens than you did before.
Totally. And every time some like bullshit drama happens or like even legitimate things, I'm just like,
it'll pass.
I'm alive.
Yeah.
I'm healthy. And it just kind of keeps me happy. I was always a happy guy going into it, but it's pretty hard to get me down.
So April is Testicular Cancer Awareness Month. I learned that from your Instagram post.
Hell yeah, you did.
Did you feel any responsibility to share your experience on the show?
Yeah, that was like a big reason I wanted to do the show. I thought that my story would help at least one person. Mm-hmm. And, it already has. Like people message me all the time being like, thanks so much for sharing your story. Like I'm going to the doctor to get checked. Like the DMs and the comments have just been like overwhelmingly amazing. So I'm just like really happy that I did the show and that I was able to share my story because it's easy for me to talk about. It's not like a hard thing for me. And I think that's kind of like, cancer is so stigmatized that it touched people that I was able to go on national TV and talk about it. And sure, I was nervous, like telling a group of people plus like the 30 production staff standing around me that you had cancer and the whole story, and everybody's like firing questions at you, and you're just like, but I think it wasn't as hard for me as it could have been for someone else. And if it was going to help people, I wanted to be able to do that.
We do see in the mid-season trailer, it appears that you have another health scare. Are you able to share with us how you're doing right now? I know you can't give away what happens in the show, but how are you now?
I'm currently no evidence of disease is what they call it. So
that's really how they put it?
Yeah, they don't tell you that you're cancer free because, there's always
a chance
it could come back, but no evidence of disease is right where you want to be.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah. No, thank you. I feel good. Everything's good. And it was definitely dicey for a bit there. So you're going to want to watch.
Well, we sure will. We're loving this season. Congratulations on having a great first season. It seems like it's been a while since we've had, two guys really come in and show out. So we're looking forward to seeing the rest of the season and seeing you in future seasons. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, you guys, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of MPT. Huge shout out to everyone that has showed out on the Patreon page. I am so encouraged by the growth, especially my Love You Like a Sis tier. I was expecting like 10 people to sign up for it, and more people have. So if you want more Bachelor, Bravo, celebrity, and pop culture, even Survivor news, you got to sign up for the Love You Like a Sis tier. We're working on merch, so that's very exciting. It's all coming very, very soon, and some other little special things coming up. I know I keep saying that, and you guys are probably like, Morgan, stop lying. I'm not lying. I would never lie to you. You should know better. Also, if you haven't left a review, please do so. A little 5-star boop boop, a little Love You Like a Sis. We'll see you next week with the Golden Bachelor's Leslie Fima. Love You Like a Sis.